Hello, welcome to my first official vlog for my online web soap, Another Place in Time. My name's Jason. I'll first start with what inspired me to actually do this. Basically, it's easy. My love of soap operas. I grew up watching them. Watched with my mom. Watched during the summer times or when I was homesick from school. As I got older, and the quality of the soaps basically dwindled, what I would think is, what if I could write one? Because it should be easy. Anyone could do it. I was a little conceited. I was in high school after all. And I decided to actually do a soap on my own, text-based, not video-based, but text-based. Because a key to a really good soap is the writing. So basically, the first time I had thought about doing a text-based soap, I was in college. I read a few soaps online and thought, okay, it's possible. So I came up with an outline, did a basic Bible, came up with some characters. The problem was, it took place in California, and I've never been to California, and I didn't think I could accurately write people who lived in California since I don't live in California and never been to California. I decided to table it at that time, and I focused and finished college and then went out in the real world and worked. A few years ago I thought, well, the soaps are dying. Eventually I'm not going to be able to do soaps or watch them on television, so I figured I might as well create one. And I decided to set it in the Chicago suburbs since, well, I'd been born and raised there basically. And I decided to try it and see if it would work or not. I've done 58 installments, currently writing the 59th right now, and so far so good. I made some progress. I'm a work in progress basically. I think basically I read my early stuff and I cringe, but I think that's normal of anybody who writes, because you are your own worst your own worst critic sometimes. Well, anyway, one of the soaps text-based soap I read is actually Footprints. And the writer of it, Michael, actually asked me a question if I've had any sort of change of storylines or if changed course since I've started in the first installment up to now. And the answer is hell yes. I mean, I'm under the philosophy that you can actually have a Bible and you can plan it, but you do have to allow yourself some flexibility to deviate from it. The key is to deviate from it and not make it look like you're doing it. Easier said than done. The best example that I've done that in is in regards to Thomas and Alicia's story. The backstory I did establish on there was in my Bible, but how it's going now is totally not how I envisioned it. I originally had planned to have Alicia. Well, the story was, I guess I could say, the story was Thomas was dating Alicia's brother Luis. Alicia had a thing for Thomas and couldn't understand why he couldn't go for her. So she decided in her warped mind to break them up, and then she figured then Thomas would have no choice but to turn to her. It's that old-fashioned thought process that, oh, I can turn someone straight, that a lot of girls do have. Not all girls, but the girls I've met have had that thought. Some about me and some towards some of my peers. Anyway, so she actually sets it up to be caught in a compromising position with Thomas by her brother Luis. And Luis sees it, is so distraught that he takes his own life. And of course, his suicide note, of course, blamed finding the love of his life with his sister and feeling so betrayed he couldn't go on. Alicia blames Thomas. Thomas is overcome with guilt and decides to come to Hope Falls, Illinois for a new life. Alicia eventually follows him. And if you recall, if you've read the first episodes, Thomas was getting phone calls, getting letters, notes, basically being stalked. That part was in my Bible. However, what I was going to do was Thomas was eventually going to go to therapy to deal with his grief, and he was going to remember some instances of things that happened. And it was going to turn out that Alicia actually accidentally killed her brother Louise and decided to make it look like a suicide and basically blame Thomas so he'd feel overcome with grief to make him miserable. When Thomas finds this out, Alicia gets basically loses whatever shred of sanity she still has left, kidnaps him, tortures him, and is about to do him in, but is saved at the last second by Melinda and Stephen. Now, I'd always envisioned Stephen and Alicia being together, and then it was going to come out, and then once that was over, Stephen and Melinda were going to get together. But when I was writing the story, I kind of liked Alicia's character. I kind of saw her as the pot stirrer. Every show needs that, and I think I've worked hard to try to make her less crazy, outright crazy, but she still has her moments, like any normal psychotic character. But I think every show needs that. And besides, she's kind of helped drive some of the other stories that I've planned, like Jillian and Gerald hooking up, basically Stephen's paternity possibly being set up, revealed by her. So I think she's been used very well. The character that I hadn't expected to be such a supporting character was Thomas. I had envisioned him to actually be the lead character. But when you start to write a story, and let's face it, soap operas are stories, the story writes itself. And as it was writing itself, it didn't want to include Thomas. And I would try to put Thomas in the story, and it didn't work. So I've left him as a supporting character, and when the story calls for him to be in more, he'll be in more. I guess I really have to say I do admire a lot of the other fellow, online soap writers. I enjoy reading all of their stuff, and I hope one day, that I will actually be as good as they are and have as big a following as they do. Right now, I'm going to let you go, but I do thank you for letting me talk and have some musings, and I hope you will read my installments of my show as I upload them. And if you do want to follow me on Twitter, I'm under Losers, capital R, Us, like Toys R Us. Or you can friend me on Facebook under Jason J. Crady. I hope you all have a great day, and if you have any questions or comments, by all means, just fire them away at me, and I will answer them in a vlog or an email or whatnot. Toodaloo. Peace out.